For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another great interview for y'all. I'm still in Waco, Texas, under an unofficial quarantine thanks to my 9-to-5 job, but, you know, we're here, we're doing it. We got a very special guest today from West Virginia, Zachary Sovine. How's it going today?
Pretty good. So yourself?
Doing pretty good. Just day three of the quarantine, so to speak. You know, it's an interesting time.
Can't wait till this is over with, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, everybody's saying, "Oh, give it 2 weeks," and it's like, yeah, we said that 2 weeks ago. I said that 2 weeks ago, and it's worse now than it was 2 weeks ago. So, you know, hopefully it doesn't go much past April. Like, if it come April, hopefully it's done and we're out of it.
Yeah, I kind of heard it was here in like 2 months. Everybody, it's kind of what I was getting the gist of from.
Yeah, if I have to work home for 2 months, I might lose my shit. Like, that's what I was telling my buddy that this morning. I was like, if I have to work from home for more than 30 days, I don't know what's gonna happen here. But
I don't blame you, man.
So, but
I like getting out and about, and I can't do that now. It's like I can't go to a gig. I can't even go to a bar and have a beer.
Yeah,
you know, it's which I don't do that often. But
yeah.
it's like what do you do?
I'm worried I'm going to develop a drinking habit because I've already, before this whole thing really took off, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be home a lot, I'm going to at least drink a little bit more than I usually do, because normally I'll drink like one beer a week, and like on a Friday night, it's just have a beer and I'm good. And then I've already ran through like half an 18-pack in 3 days. I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad.
But see, I don't know. I know you said you're in Waco.
Yeah.
I know every time I've ever been in Texas, and I don't know if Waco's the same as that part of Texas. I was always on the Houston side.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like they had the drive-through beer stores. So you just drive your vehicle through, and they load you up, man. And it's like you don't even have to get out of the car.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what's going on during this whole thing.
Actually, no, they've ordered all liquor stores, or if they serve or sell alcohol, they have to close. So I think liquor stores kind of fell under that umbrella. Man. I believe.
I mean, if they could just get everybody drunk enough, they might stay home anyway, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, how am I going to complain?
Yeah, pretty much. But, you know, it's just we're all taking it in stride, and hopefully it doesn't last 2 months. But if it does, it is what it is. You know, there's not much we can do about it at this point.
We'll just start making moonshine or something.
Yeah, that's true. But so let's start off from the beginning. What got you started in music?
I think my whole life I just kind of like have done something with music. I guess when I was as soon as I could start talking or doing something, I guess I started. My mom said I used to sing myself to sleep with sad songs. She's like, I don't know, you'd be in your bedroom crying yourself to sleep every night. And I didn't understand it. She said, you'd be crying and singing, and she'd say, what's going on? She's like, oh, it's just a song. What song? The one I just made up.
Nice. Who are some of your musical influences?
Man, there's so many. See, you understand, I grew up, and I always said I got Bible thumping. So my dad, my uncle, and my grandpa were all preachers, and my mom was like the church pianist and then singing the gospel group. So like my whole life, it was just do all that, and so I had all that early influence. But like here in West Virginia, where we're at, some of these little country churches we'd go to, man, there's they have like full on bluegrass bands and stuff on there like every day. So it was just like there's music everywhere. it was great. You know,
Nice.
and then so I grew up. Radio was a big thing. You know, I guess I feel like I'm old now because everybody's like, YouTube and Spotify. Man, we didn't have smartphones back then. You know, and so radio. So like early on, like Garth Brooks, like. You know, of course, the classics, man, Black Sabbath and AC/DC and Metallica, you know, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I was telling somebody on the podcast yesterday, it's because I grew up in the 90s and radio was still very prevalent, especially growing up in Chicago. And we were talking about how the first time she had heard her music on the radio meant more than the first time she released it on Spotify or whatever, because it was a station that she had grown up listening to, and she idolized all the disc jockeys and hosts and whatnot. And so when it played on the station that she grew up listening to, it was like, oh, I made it. It was like a I made it type moment. So as much as people are focusing on the internet, the radio still holds a special place in people's hearts because there's still a generation of musicians that grew up listening to the radio.
Right. Well, you know, you've got that, and see, for me, I did grow up listening to the radio, but you know, I look at the history of things, and like radio, you know, outdates TV. That was the TV. People used to gather around the radios and listen.
Mm-hmm.
That was the broadcast. And like if you look at some of our big things like the Grand Ole Opry and things now, like that's still a radio program. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so to me, yeah, it does hold a special place. Because you know, who gets on the radio these days? It always seems like we talk about the pop scenes, the pop country and stuff, and this and that and the other. And it's like, who plays the radio stations? Because it's not the local musicians I listen to. It's not the people I think are great. Anybody can be on Spotify.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad. It's like takes something special away from it. But not everybody's on the radio.
Yeah, that's very true. And unfortunately, radio is a ratings business where they have to play the popular music, so it doesn't leave much room for the local independent acts to kind of penetrate through, unless they have like a New at 9 or a Fresh Friday or something along those lines where they do like an hour of up and coming music. But for the most part, it's really hard. It's still really hard to break through on radio, which in my opinion is why it's still an amazing feat, so to speak. So,
yes, sir, I agree.
Because you still have that, I don't want to call it a barrier to entry, but you still have to get to a certain point and grab their attention to be like, hey, we want to play your music on our station.
Right. And then that gets questionable for me sometimes, is like, how do you grab their attention? You play the same thing everybody else is playing, right?
Yeah.
And where's the art in that? Like, where's the talent, And I keep hoping that one day with the sponsorships in radio, and because that's the deal, they're selling ad times and things like that. I keep hoping that people are going to say, hey, man, if I'm going to donate to your radio station, we want to hear some art. We want to hear something new, something different, something local, something here. Like, let's support this, and let's let go of the big system here. I keep hoping that's going to happen, because anything can happen, right?
Yeah. And I mean, as long as honestly, I think eventually you'll start seeing that more and more because, like, especially as kind of radio really starts fading out and becomes less popular as the generations kind of move on or move forward. I think you'll start seeing radio stations trying to do something to stand out, to make themselves more relevant and more stand out from like Spotify and stuff. So it'll be an interesting transition to see how it plays. And so I think one of their things they'd have to do is start giving local musicians a platform.
Man, this is getting to the whole thing for me. This whole postmodern type thing. Like, it's almost like you're saying to me, like, well, the same thing everybody else has said. Oh, print is dead. Now I'm sitting there imagining in my head like radio is dead. And then I remember when MTV came on and all that happened. And it's like, wow, they said, "Oh, video killed the radio star."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, but they don't even play music on MTV, you know?
Yeah.
So what's going on with that?
Well, and I wasn't really saying that radio is
Oh,
dead. It's just
I know
going
you're
through
not.
cycles.
It just kind of give me, I mean, I know you didn't say that, but it's kind of just giving me that thought in my head, you know, like, you know, print is dead. Even though they say that, you know, we can still pick up a newspaper today,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not where people get their news from. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, what do you get? What are they still there for?
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because had you told me 15 years ago that vinyl was going to be making a comeback and like it
Right?
was going to be a big thing, that independent musicians are going to be pressing and selling vinyl.
Blows my mind.
Yeah. Like I saw it, I started seeing it a few years ago when I was living out in New Mexico. I would see the occasional musician have like a 45 for sale, and now it's just everywhere. Like you
That's
see,
all they're doing.
yeah, which is fine. Like I love vinyl. Like don't get me wrong, but it's like you told me 15 years ago that it was going to make a comeback like that. I wouldn't have believed you.
Well, I like vinyl, but man, they're a pain in the butt. They get warped, they get popped in the cracks, and some of that was always the mystique of it. But it's like, man, you know, like I can't. The sound quality's not there.
Yeah.
It's like I love as much as I love vinyl, like, but I like the old vinyls, man. I don't want to. And then I go to the store now, and like I used to be able to go like to the flea markets or something and pick up old records, or
Hmm.
I've still got a collection of like vintage records, man, like that are originals, man. But you go out to buy a new pressed vinyl now, and it's $25 for. I'm like, wow, man, for what? The same record that I can get at the pawn shop for $3
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
dollar.
And the one at the pawn shop is probably a more original pressing than what you're getting at a record shop right now, because I'm sure anything at the record shop is a reprint at this point.
Well, man, we got some record shops around here, and they're all old. Like they're not
Okay.
selling anything new. It's pretty neat, and I was glad to see those places come back anyway, because there's old pressing stuff that they're not putting out anywhere else, and it's the only way you can find them. And I'll go dig through. I'll spend a day digging through some of those old vinyls and stuff to get them, man.
Yeah. When I was living, I think it was last year sometime, there was like a vintage secondhand shop, and they would always have like bins and bins of old vinyl. And one day I got a message from the one of the I think he was like an assistant manager at that point. He messaged me. He was like, "Hey man, we just set out in the back entrance area like 20,000 old vinyls that we're just trying to get rid of because we can't sell them. They're either don't have sleeves, they're not marked, or just they're just kind of random. If you want them, come grab what you want." Um, and we're just telling everybody we can to come grab them if they want them. I'm like, okay, I'll be over there tomorrow. He's like, okay, cool. I got there, they were all gone, and I'm like,
Wow.
no, I should have came in sooner. My bad. But it was a lot of, from what I understood, it was like a lot of Barbara Streisand and stuff like that.
Yeah, it kills me. I'll go to some of these places. You talk about secondhand shops, like the Habitat for Humanity restores. I always like to support stuff like that,
Yep.
and like the Goodwill. I kind of have mixed feelings about supporting Goodwills for various reasons, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing. But I always go to places like that, and like you always find vinyls there, and it seems like they always have already picked out all the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think they ever make the shelf there, but it's always like repetitive, with the same crap, and it's crap. It's nothing good.
Yeah.
But man, there's one particular little flea market over here in Southern Ohio, not far from here, and man, this guy would stock them up, and he would have he had a whole room, and it was all like alphabetical order, like it'd be rock and roll, and then he had another like section of funk.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had a whole other room that was just all old like country, and it was like, wow, man, it's something still missed. Just I don't know, something still cool about that to me, you know.
Yeah. When I used to like look through eBay, and they'd have like wholesale lots of 45s. Like you could pay $25 and they send you like 50 records, and the disclaimer was all they had were like the paper sleeves. Like none of them had the like had an actual sleeve saying what it was, and chances are the record was either scratched or warped or whatever. But that was just like there's no guarantee. There was no guarantees as to what you were getting. But I went in there and I paid the guy $25 or whatever for 50 records, and I got some really good stuff. Like I got some Prince music that was really random to me. I got some like just like some really cool singles and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, cool, And so like I listen to them every once in a while, but for the most part, like all like the Bill Weathers one that I got, it's scratched. So like I'll put it on just to kind of be like, hey, but when it skips like a half a verse,
Yeah, man. Oh wow, people don't realize that, and like that's the thing. Like to me, it was shocking to see vinyl come back. Like, which I guess things do that. Like the bell bottoms came back for a while. This and that and the other, and like it's old and nostalgic. It's cool, and it's that whole hipster thing, I guess. But like I'd never not had a record player. Like my whole life, I grew up. I remember we had a big console thing that, man, it took up like I don't know 8 foot of a room, and that's what it was. It had like a big record thing in the middle and a 8-track in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with that, but like I've had a record player forever. I've never not had one.
Yeah.
And like for me to see this stuff come back, I was like, well, it's kind of cool. But then to see how much the price went up on them, and then I see this lately. What was it a few weeks ago? I seen something about one of the vinyl plants burnt down.
Oh wow.
Like there's like 2 of them that actually makes the vinyl for all the records, and like one of them burnt down. So I'm curious as to how this is going to work out. Or is vinyl going to go up more now?
Well, I think they have to be getting to a point where they can start making more presses, like take what they have and duplicate them. Like I think they almost have to start getting to that point, especially if this year especially if vinyl continues to outsell like digital downloads and all that stuff. Like there's going to get to a point where they really have to start duplicating the presses and what have you.
For me, like if I had the option, if I was going to buy, like, and I don't know, maybe it's just where, I mean, I always hated VHS tapes, man, because you got to rewind stupid things. They get unmagnetized. Sometimes they just get unwound and gummed up. I like CDs, but CDs get scratched, but you can fix a scratch in a CD. You get scratch in vinyl, not so much.
Yeah.
You get in little places in these little countries that do the vinyls and stuff, and the ones that don't get sold, they take it and they break them all down and they turn them back into new records.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was cool, the whole recycled thing. But
Absolutely.
like, I don't know. It's like I kind of like buying the CDs better, especially if I was going to a show, because they're smaller, they're easier to carry. I can get them autographed and signed, and I can put those up. But you can do that to a record too. The only reason why I think it's really cool for me, and I started buying them, is like, man, I started seeing these musicians I support out here, and being a musician myself, sometimes I see these bigger shows that these guys get on, and they'll roll them 2 or 3 deep. They're not making any money playing the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame. Like I think they should get paid for what they do. And I kind of boycotted that for a while. I said, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to play these shows where I'm going to get paid. But they get it in your merchandise sales. Well, man, that costs money to have stock of merchandise. And so that's the way they make money. So I always tell my friends, when you go to these shows, buy their merch.
Yeah,
support them. And they get a whole lot more money off of selling a vinyl, And any way I can try to help those guys out, because, man, they're out there doing something and giving something back to the world. And that's almost like being God, so to speak, in the same way as just the whole idea of creation and thought. How do you add something to the world, or to the universe, or whatever you want to look at it? Like, you put it out there, and that's what they're doing. And like I get so sick and tired of, we talked about the pop scene. They're just kind of got a bunch of guys sitting in the room, and they're all like using that algorithm to spit out the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
We can't do that, man.
No, like I think, and this is probably going to get me a little bit of heat, but I think the music industry is starting to lose its individuality that it once had. But hopefully, as things progress.
I get excited.
What's that?
I get excited when you're from Texas, so you understand. Like Aaron Watson, you guys like Aaron Watson come out there. And a couple years ago, he gets the album of the year, and he's not played on the radio unless you're in Texas on the music charts in there.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn. They're like, people's going, who the hell is Aaron Watson? And I said, exactly. Because when you see a guy that's not played on the radio, comes out there and gets album of the year, or has the most album sales of the year, I'm like, man, that's amazing to me.
Yep.
Like, how does a guy that doesn't get any radio play, where people can get to hear him and don't know who he is, sell that many records?
Yep.
That's beautiful to me. And then Sturgill Simpson, comes out and does it. And I'm like, man. And now Tyler Childers is up here and he's burning this stuff up. And I'm so happy to see these guys breaking through.
Yeah.
Because man, it needed to be done.
Yep.
It's kind of like things like Waylon Jennings did in his day, and not comparing them to being the same thing, but it is, because they're going out here and trying to put something true back out there. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's giving me some inspiration, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. It also goes to I don't think this is going to happen anymore with the whole virus thing going on, but you know who Billy Strings is, right?
Of course I do, man.
Yeah. Like, just seeing him being able to break through with his psychedelic bluegrass thing that he's got going on there. And he was supposed to play Jimmy Kimmel. I think it was supposed to be next week, I believe. I don't remember exactly when it was. And it's like, okay, that's really cool. And I remember watching him 3 years ago down in the Florida Keys at a bluegrass festival. And he was,
of course, man.
Like, he was just walking around like a normal dude. And I'm like, yo, that's awesome. And, bluegrass is bluegrass. And the fact that that's starting to kind of come into the mainstream, that's really awesome as well.
Well, I've grown up, where I'm at, and like bluegrass was a thing, and I always told people, like, man, and I followed metal too, and I love to hear, these leads and stuff metal. You realize most of these guys are like classically trained musicians, like you can hear classical music in it. And that's great, because man, I'm a huge Beethoven fan. Like, growing up, like, I like classical music. It is what it is, and but at the end of the day, I always told people, like, you get these guitarists, and this is why I don't play metal. And you know why? I was like, because Mac, I'm to go to drop D, I take a finger, I go right down the stupid board, and I'm doing the same thing over and over again for every damn song.
Yeah.
And I was like, it sucks. I was like, where's the talent in that? I said, but you give me one of these guys that's playing this stuff and have them play bluegrass, but they can't do it.
Correct.
I mean, there's a lot of skill to that. And I was like, man, now you take one of these guys and have them come over this way and see how this works out.
Yeah.
And Billy Strings does that.
Yeah. We were because every year in January we go to a bluegrass festival down in the Keys, and so that's how I met Billy Strings a few years back. We'll take all the video, or like the live performance videos that we do, we'll take it and show it to our local metal scene friends, and they're like, dang, I wish I could play guitar like that. Like, we'll show them like the really good flat pickers and stuff, and it's
Billy
like,
Strings is insane.
yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of talent that goes into playing bluegrass there, and it's
Right.
awesome to watch.
And when you put that on an acoustic instrument, and you're not distorted, and you're playing it clean, like the second that guy makes a mistake, everybody's going to know it, and they stand out. I'm not putting anything against any electric guitars or any other musician out there, because, dude, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you get to that level, and like, you could pick up anything else and just be that good, and it blows my mind, because like, there's a lot more work to it. And I've got some friends that are just amazing guitarists, and it's like, wow, man, like, how do you do that? And then I see this kid. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but the Marcin kid. I think he's like 16 or 17. Man, he does.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I thought you were talking about this dude named Mark Shimmick. He's from like North Carolina, I believe. But no, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of this guy. It's like his last name is like Marcin. That's like Marcin.
Okay.
He's like 16, 17-year-old kid from like somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
Some European, and he's obviously a classically trained. Like, you can hear the classical in it, man. And he'll pick up and he'll do these covers. He has his arm, like, he's doing everything at the same time. He'll have an arm like beating the rhythm out, doing the drums with his hands back and forth. And he'll be up there playing the rhythms, playing the leads, and he'll be doing like the tap tones, like, dude, everything at once.
Yeah.
He's absolutely insane. And I'm like, damn, man, have you just done that your whole life?
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
And that's awesome because that makes me realize, like, no matter how good you could ever learn to play an instrument, like, there's always somebody who's going to do it better.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes you want to keep learning. Like, how do you get some of the tones out there? Like, Billy Strings is the same way. You talk about him. It's like you watch him, and I watch this guy get down below the fretboard and almost all the way into the saddle of his acoustic guitar, and he's playing notes. Then that's really hard to do.
Yeah. Well,
And
I was watching this one dude play this one time, and he was retuning his guitar while he was still playing. Like one of his strings jumped out of tune, and he's sitting there still playing and retuning his guitar at the same time. And I'm like, wait, what is going on here? And it was absolutely amazing. And like he didn't miss a beat, didn't miss a step, and he was just sitting there retuning his guitar while in the middle of a song. It was
yeah, I love seeing that. I had a friend who used to practice that. He had a thing where he'd like detune and uptune.
Okay. I've seen
that. Was
that.
Like, man.
I've seen that before. That's a really, like, especially if you could do it really right, it gives you a really cool sound. And then so you like detune and then come back up, and it's like, okay, that's really cool.
But yeah, I dig it.
So as far as your music goes, what's kind of your creative process when you sit down to write music?
Oh man, usually, and it's kind of complicated. Like I wrote songs a 1,000 different ways, but it seems to be like I'll have a thought or I'll have something that's on my mind or bother me, or sometimes I'll pose a question. As silly as it sounds, because I'm more. I mean, I've wrote songs like I can get a good rhythm or something or a good beat, and I can write a song to that. And it's easy to do, they're generic, but I like to do stuff that's meaningful and thoughtful. I'm kind of like under the lyric side of it, and so I'll just pose a question, and a lot of times I'll just kind of like write down or I'll record whatever the answer is, because some beautiful things come out of that, especially when you start breaking things down and going deeper.
Yeah.
I kind of had this thing last night. I'm a big Morgan Wade fan. I don't know if you've got to check out her music or not, but if you haven't, like, please check out Morgan Wade. She's amazing.
Is she local to you, or is she more?
Well, she's out of Virginia, but she's like blowing up everywhere right now.
Okay.
She's amazing. Like, you'll see her play concerts. She just did a couple of stands with Ashley McBride.
Okay.
There's a few people that's kind of like pushing her right now. I think the Jason Isbell camp has been. Anyway, like, I've watched her go into some of these big shows, and she'll come in there and she'll get up on stage and start singing, and most people won't know who she is, and like they instantly shut up, turn around, and listen. And that's something to do, because it seems like people go to shows now just to be seen and make noise, and they shut up and listen, and like, who the hell's that?
Yeah.
And she's amazing. But she was doing a live feed last night, obviously, because she's under this quarantine crap too.
Yep.
And I tuned into it, and I'm watching it, and somebody said, hey, play Bobby McGee. And everybody knows Bobby McGee. She said, I don't know how to like play Bobby McGee, or didn't know all the words to Bobby McGee or something like that. Can't remember how to do it. And it's kind of hit me, man. And I had a Hank Hill moment, man. I heard, damn it, Bobby. And believe it or not, that inspired this whole thought, because I'm a Chris Christopherson fan. I love Chris Christopherson. The man's just totally an underrated songwriter. He's just so amazing. And that the beauty of Chris Christopherson hit me last night, because I'd never sit down and actually thought about Bobby McGee. So when the Damn It Bobby thing hit me in the head, I kind of had this moment where I was like, oh, I need to write a song about that. It needs to be Damn It Bobby Chapter 33. Because, Christopherson did the thing where he'd use other songs, and he did Chapter 33, like Pilgrim Chapter 33, my favorite Christopherson song. And so I started writing this thing to it, kind of like, I don't know, just because I want to think, I was like, damn it, Bobby, like, because from the perspective of he's singing about Bobby McGee the whole time, but he's upset that she ran away. He talks about how she slips away, and I kind of got into that whole thought process, and I realized what Christopherson was saying without saying it last night, and Bobby McGee, and we got into this whole conversation about what is love, and it was just an amazing thing. I actually looked at Bobby McGee like I'd never seen it before, and I was like, wow, man, and that's the talent of Chris Christopherson. He's wow, man, he's everywhere. And see and guys like that, and like Tyler Chitter's out now, and Oh man, there's so many of them. Geez, Towns Van Zandt. They could say so many things without saying them.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty in it. Like they said everything without saying it all. And that I strive for. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
strive for that. And it's like I don't think anybody could ever get to it. Like sometimes I just want to rip it up and say, "Man, the hell with it."
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Understood.
that process is there, and it's just working on it and working on it, and always trying to get better. Uh, but I mean, I guess as much as I am of anything, I'm a fan of everybody else's too, and it's just I love it when people are putting out there, and if it's part of your heart and soul, if it's something that's on your mind, like uh, if it's something that's real, or if it's something that needs to be said that's not being said, that's your platform. Um, not everybody's going to dig it, but for the people that do get it, then you know you're not alone in the world, and for
Mhm.
the people that it helps, or like, and that kind of blew my mind the first time that ever happened to me. I had done a video somewhere of a song. I literally just wrote the song, and somebody said, "Hey man, play something new." We just had it sitting in the bar one night, so I picked up a guitar, and a friend of mine had a banjo, and he came over there, and they shot a little video. And then, like 2 weeks later, I get this message on Facebook from somebody in California that I've never met before in my life, weren't even friends with. They said, "We saw this video, man, and it's like we just want to let you know we understand." And they were like telling me what it meant to them and how much they were crying about it. And then it just like I was like, "Wow, man, like really?" And it just never kind of like that was surreal to me. That was like probably the best compliment I could have ever got.
Mhm.
It's like they understood it, they got it, and like where it came from. And they told me their story, and I was like, "Wow, like that's what this is about."
Mhm.
It's like I can connect with you and not even know you, and you can connect with me, and you have that opportunity to do that. And if not, hey, at least I can get the stuff that's on my mind out, stuff that's on my heart out, because if it stays in there, then it's just gonna beat you to death, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and you kind of touched on we've been on and off talking about the virus pandemic that's going on right now. How has that been kind of affecting your music? Are you a first of all, are you a full-time musician, or do you have a 9 to 5 that kind of supports your music?
Oh well, see, this is kind of like a thing for me. The problem is yeah, I do the music, but I also work on instruments, and I build instruments, and
Okay.
I work on gear and stuff. Well, guess what? All the musicians that need that shit done, they ain't working either.
Yeah.
And so, while I can sit here and get all these other projects that I was wanting to do for myself, uh, or just kind of just to do for fun things done, I can do those. And it's kind of nice to have time to work on those. But as far as gigging musicians, like, hey man, I need this guitar like today. No, I don't have any of that coming in either.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, and I can't. And if everybody else is broke, so I couldn't even like put a guitar up for sale right now online and be like, here, buy this, because all the thing they're going to ask to do is, can we trade for something else?
Yeah.
and
So
I hate it.
do you build guitars from scratch, or like are you, would you consider yourself like a luthier, or?
Well, see, to me, is yes and no, man. For me, it's art. Like I'll take a guitar that's already here, and I'll tear it up like I did, or I've built them from scratch too. Like usually
Mhm.
electric, I like to do from scratch, but like I don't know. I'm a what is it now? Les Claypool.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about, but Primus. Have you heard his Duo de Twang?
No. I'm
Oh
familiar with
man.
Primus, but I haven't heard that.
All right, Duo de Twang is Les Claypool uh, doing an acoustic. It's an acoustic duo,
Okay.
dude. Man, it's cool as hell, man. Like there's videos on YouTube. He's like doing Johnny Horton. So he's doing some really cool stuff. But I was watching a couple of them, and he's playing a 4-string resonator bass guitar. Like I've never seen a
Cool.
resonator bass.
Wow.
And so me and a bass player are sitting there watching this video together, and I'm like, dude, we got to have one of those. Like, where do you get one? So we don't go. You can't go out and just buy one.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I was in Lexington, Kentucky, playing a show, and I just happened like I'm always constantly trolling, like I don't know, Craigslist, all the yard sale stuff, like what what's for sale, because people will freaking buy a guitar, they'll break a string on it and sell it for nothing because they don't they don't realize they can go replace the string simply.
Mhm.
Uh, And so I find this bass guitar, and the guy's asking $50 for it. And I was just looking for something that's all beat up and broke because I didn't really. We're gonna cut it up and turn it into a resonator, man. Like if I screw it up, and
Yeah.
I find this guitar for $50, and I get it. And I swear the only thing that was wrong with it was missing the battery thing for the preamp on it.
Okay.
It's a 99-cent part. It turned up to a $300 guitar. And
Wow.
anyway, I just turned it into a bass resonator guitar. It's badass.
Nice. Nice.
But I'll do stuff like that, or I'll build bodies from scratch. I like to use like a reclaimed lumber,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll come up with a theme. Like I built a Telecaster for myself because I wanted a Telecaster, and I built part of it out of a door.
Oh wow.
And so like the kick plate, the old school brass kick plates, I took that. That's actually what made the pick guard, the control plate, all that stuff. Everything was made out of the brass pick guard. I put black alligator hide as kind of like a tribute to Waylon Jennings because he always said put leather on the back of it so the Cowboys buckle don't scratch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put leather on the back of it and brass tacks around it. And then I put a brass 666 on it because I thought it was funny because it came out the door. We gotta have the store numbers on it.
Yep.
And
That's
it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's my telly.
Yeah. That's funny. No, I remember. Was it a few months ago? I was running through Craigslist and like their for sale section, and I saw somebody was selling it was like a resonator uke. So it was like a ukulele, but
Yeah.
it was a resonator. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it's then I started looking up on YouTube what that sounded like, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I like mandolins and stuff. A banjolin. Have you ever seen a banjolin?
Yep.
It's like those are cool, man. Like that stuff blows my mind. Like see weird stuff like that.
Yeah. It's
Why not?
good. Did I lose you?
I think I think cut out for a second for some reason.
No, you're good. You're good. No, yeah, I've seen a banjo. Yeah, we were talking about a banjo.
The banjolin.
Yeah, banjolin. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Banjolin.
I've seen it once, like starting to work with more Americana / country / bluegrass bands. We see like more obscure hybrid instruments. So it like the last 3 years, it's been a real education as to what people are making out there.
Yeah. You was talking about doing them in the ukuleles, and matter of fact, I just got a message on my phone, and I see the picture on who it is. Have you ever heard the Bridge City Sinners?
No.
If
No.
if you have not, okay, they're out of Seattle, up there,
Okay.
or maybe it's Portland. I might have just messed up. It's Portland or Seattle up there. I just know it's up that way. And man, but there's a whole like a string of bands coming up out of this area. They're like I don't know if you call it folk punk grass or or punk grass, or I don't know how you would actually label this, man. It's like I don't know, it's somewhere between that and kind of like the Irish sound in Boston stuff. It's just really good stuff.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of like really neat instruments involved with that too. As a matter of fact, the lead singer Libby, she plays a lot of times. It's always a ukulele, but sometimes it's like a banjo ukulele, like you were talking about, a banjo uke.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely some stuff to check out, man. They're amazing. They're amazing because it's like bluegrass with punk rock in it, and just it's I don't know, and it's good.
Yeah.
I really am digging that scene right now.
Yeah. What I'm really appreciating lately is people that make guitars out of random items. So like this one guy we worked with in Tallahassee, Florida, had a gas can guitar.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen the bass ones done that way. The like gas tanks out of a car.
no, this was like the old school. I guess there were more oil cans, but
I know what you're talking about. It's got like the metal top on it, comes down. Yeah.
Yeah. And just it was like a little 2-string guitar, and watching him play this thing, it was just like, wow, that's amazing. And so I've seen that one, and then I was watching this guy on YouTube that made a guitar out of a shovel.
Yeah, the shovel guitar. Yeah, that guy's a really good guitar player too.
Yeah. So just like I've become really interested in watching people that just make their own guitars out of anything. So
Yeah, I love that. Like I like doing them. I like making stuff weird and just making them like if I pull out an instrument like that's not just a standard like nice acoustic guitar. If I pull something out like it's like my Telecaster, I said build part of it out of a door, and so I pull it out there. And first off, I've got the brass stuff like it's all polished like mirror, and so like even though it's black, I pick that thing up and it's like wow, it's like hitting the mirror up on stage, and people go what the hell, and then they see the 666 on like what the shit's wrong with this guy.
yeah.
And then I've got another thing I built. I took an old Stratocaster because I don't like Strats. I'm just a weirdo like that.
Yeah.
I took this old Stratocaster and I refitted it and I turned it into a Mandocello caster.
Oh
So
wow.
I like converted it to the 8-string and did this weird stuff with it. And I use it actually for the pick guard. I took beer cans from one of my favorite Country Boy Brewing is what it is. They
Okay.
shotgun wedding. And so I took the beer cans up and I took these little copper like little copper nails basically. I made it look like it was riveted on with like the pick guard.
Oh nice.
Stuff like that. Like I want people to go, what the shit?
Yeah.
You
And
know, something different, man.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, but where are you at like writing wise right now? Are you getting ready to release something? Are you recording, writing? Where are you at right now as far
Well,
as
nobody's doing anything right now as far as
Yeah.
I can go to the studio, but I don't think you really I was in the middle. I was back here before I guess the holidays.
Yeah.
I was in the studio. I was trying to get an album recorded. I've got I probably got another one written already.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've been kind of putting it off. It's one of them things. I was like, I'd rather go play shows, and I know I needed to get it done. I just hadn't, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was taking the time and get into it and going to the studio and trying to get this album done. And in the middle of it, my wife had some health problems come up, like really bad, and
Mm-hmm.
so that wasted about 2 months. I mean, literally. And then it was trying to catch back up, and then now it's like Christmas, New Year's. And so as I'm getting recovered from all that and getting ready set to go again, uh, I I have another project that I was working on. Uh, I'm gonna say it like this: when it comes to having friends or fellow musicians and stuff, it's really hard to find another musician to play with
Mm-hmm.
or to start something with that shares your artistic vision on stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a friend like that, for the last few years, and we've been trying to start a project, but he had other bands and I had stuff going on, and we was trying to get it all worked out. Well, he was just come to the end of his other band. They just kind of decided they were done, and me and him were going to go full time with our thing that we've been working on, and he passed away.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and it's just really sad, tragic, because he's one of them guys, man, that you really just don't realize what he means to the world, and like people, I don't think a lot of people did, but I know some of the things that he's done. Like, dude, he does construction work during the day, right? So last year he comes to me and says, I want to do this fundraiser for this group home over here, and I was like, okay, well, let's do it. So we come up with this fundraiser. So he saw the group home didn't have money, and it's actually a group home for girls that are victims of like sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he said we want to like at least get them money to give the kids Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, in one day we raised like $11,000,
Oh wow.
and like so we took care of them for a minute. Like and that's the kind of guy he was. Like he didn't care about anything other than like giving back. Like and like people would always take him wrong. He would come out on stage, and the first thing he'd say when he come up there, he's like, we're gonna do songs about fighting, fucking death and destruction, like you know, all stuff like that, man. And like people would take that as a shock thing, but man, he was such a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the world's kind of was a real sad place. So it took me another month, I think, to recover from that. I still don't think I've recovered from that, because it's bad enough losing a friend or losing a brother in arms, somebody that shares your vision, but man, to lose somebody that really tried to give to everybody. Like he tried, I mean, he was the kind of guy that before he would go play a show somewhere, he'd be studying like who's going to the show. Like he'd be on Facebook on there like, who said they're coming to the show? So he could come up and meet him if he didn't know him. If they were a stranger, they weren't a stranger to them. They knew somebody that they knew him. He was that kind of dude, and it's like, man, that's beautiful. And that just breaks my heart, because man, there's damn few people like that.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I'm trying to get geared back up. because that was the thing for me. And so I'm changing the name of the album to a song that was his favorite of mine, and I'm gonna kind of do it like that. So I'm kind of had to stop and redo that. So I'm about to go back in, and then this pandemic hits. So
Yeah.
that's kind of putting a damper. I would sit here and try to do some self-recording on it, but I've got 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so as far as running good microphones and stuff around here to do that, I just don't think that's going to be a thing I can do.
Gotcha.
So as soon as this is over with, hopefully soon, I'm going to go out and finish this album, get this out.
How close?
And it's going to be, sorry.
No, I was
that,
gonna say, how close are you to having it finished?
I've got about 3 songs basically done. You know, there's still a final edit, but 3. It was the argument is like how many songs are we gonna put on there, and I was wanting to put 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody told me, man, you ought to put like less, and then you'd have stuff for other albums. Well, I've got other things written already,
Mm-hmm.
and I had 10 on my mind for that. So I don't know. I really think I should do the 10.
Yeah.
I kind of think like if you're gonna buy my album, you should have at least, you know, I don't want you to just buy 5 songs at the same price when you could get 10.
Yeah.
Like, you know, value, man, value.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it's going to be a pretty like, I think the whole album's pretty sad. I mean, it's just sad. I've had a really, especially the last several years of my life's been really terrible, and it's just a sad album.
Yeah.
And the next one's probably going to be where the anger comes out at. As a matter of fact, a lot of them, some of the songs that are already written, yeah, they're kind of more heavy metal sounded probably in the lyrics,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's really cool to have albums that sound completely different from each other, but still remain true to who you are.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, if you become that musician that you're releasing the same kind of album every time, then why would people come listen to it? Like, it's the same sounding stuff that was in the last album, you know, but that's just my opinion. Have you thought about of the 3 songs that you said that are pretty much done? Have you thought about just trying to release a single at this point, just to kind of keep fresh music out there, or?
Well, yeah, I've really been considering that, you know. So I got this whole thing, and with some people there a while, so I don't have anything on Spotify. Like most anything I put out right now, like I just do it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna put it out there, I just do it for free. And
Yeah.
like I know that's not necessarily the best thing in the world. It's not getting me paid. Um, but I'm like, man, you know, I could do this whole Spotify thing, and yeah, you get views and you get money that way. And I've got a friend who's kind of blowing up, and he was talking about how he had X amount of views, like I don't know, it was 100,000 views or something on this one thing. He's like, I've got tens of dollars, you know. And I kind of laughed about it as a joke, but I thought about it, you know, that's right. But I got to thinking, man, I was like, you know what's going to happen? I said, I put stuff on Spotify, and I'm going to turn into Willie Nelson, because, you know, the IRS harassed the shit out of Willie Nelson. They're going to get me on my tens of dollars on Spotify somewhere that I'm going to forget to not pay taxes on by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years from now, it's going to cost me $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's my luck. Man. That is literally my luck.
Yeah.
So I kind of avoided those things, and I don't know. It was it's conflicting for me. I mean, there's the iTunes and stuff. I don't know. I've kind of been debating that lately. I know I need to do something with that. Because I need to start getting paid for it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like, you know, I was like, damn, I'll go play a show.
Yeah.
But if I got a, you know, album something to sell, that's cool. I don't know. It's conflicting for me. But yeah, I've really been considering releasing one as a single now, because I had some radio stations that was wanting to maybe pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's been a thing.
Because
I know I wasn't getting some love over that.
Yeah, like that would be my, like, especially if it looks like this whole pandemic thing is going to be a longer process than what everybody's thinking. It might be a good idea to start figuring out a way or the best way to release a single for yourself, just so you're got new music out there and people are paying attention to what you're doing, you know, stuff of that nature. But I know like for us, we did like we'll work with various musicians. SoundCloud is actually a very interesting platform to release music on. We mainly just use it to release, like when we work with musicians and they'll do like a couple of cover songs usually during a set with us, and we'll release the cover songs there just kind of like as a, hey, check us out, because people are probably looking for those songs anyways.
Mhm.
And maybe that's like if you're worried about, like, I mean, you need to get paid obviously, and I think at a point SoundCloud does start paying. I'm not
Mhm.
like familiar with like all the finance or how they pay people and all that stuff. Like I just upload music and I let it sit there. Like
Right.
that's pretty much what I do. We can't make money off of cover songs. Like it's,
No, you can't. No, not at
yeah.
all.
So that's why we put the cover songs there. So it's like, here,
But hopefully the original person that wrote it, or hopefully they'll make something off of it at least.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's kind of an interesting platform if you're looking for other things. And then like you said, Spotify. I'm not 100% sure how to go about getting your stuff on Spotify, but I don't think you need to like have a distribution deal. I think you can pretty much go DIY with Spotify.
Yeah, you can, from what I'm
Yeah,
aware of.
okay. And that may be a good play for you, because that seems to be the most commonly used, like especially when we're promoting this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually either, do you have it on Spotify or iTunes?
Yeah.
So just a couple thoughts there.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. I got some friends that are well, they were actually in radio, and now they're just doing like podcasts. And they're like, man, well, let's put your stuff on Spotify. And I'm like, man, is that it's just been a conflicted thing? And then you had people that were dropping out of Spotify for a while. And
Yeah.
just like, what is it today? Because I swear, whatever it is that is wrong with the world, if I wouldn't done Spotify today, everybody's gonna turn around and look at me and tell me I'm an asshole for doing it, because that's not the cool thing. This is why we're not doing it now. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to follow you guys. I'm just trying to get my stuff out there, because, well, how else do you do it?
Absolutely.
And,
Like, I mean, you have to make yourself widely available, and unfortunately there's so much stuff out there right now that it's impossible, not impossible, it's really hard to make yourself available on every platform.
well, see, and I've been thinking about stuff like this too, and see, like, anytime I go do a show, or anytime I do anything, like, let's like we were sitting here talking earlier, and I've brought up a few other acts and a few other artists and stuff, and like said, check them out. And I always do that, especially if I'm out playing somewhere live. I'll cover some of my friends' songs, or people that I'm close with, or other musicians from around that aren't big, or aren't huge, that people don't know. And I'll cover their stuff. I'm like, man, check them out, and I always like plug them and stuff. I think there needs to be a thing maybe where some artists come together, kind of like not necessarily like a union thing, but just where they come together as a collective and say, here, and then the collective gets looked at. You know what I'm saying? And then we can kind of highlight everybody, and it gives you people to look at after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we can work together like that, that's the thing. People, I hate seeing these groups of people, like artists, especially in music, when they start fighting and fucking warring with each other. Like, mine's better than yours. Yours is here. You know what? We're all in it together. It doesn't matter if we work together and we're all in it together and we're all about doing the same thing, man. And we're helping each other out, man. We all grow together and we're all stronger together for it.
Absolutely.
But if we fight each other, we can't really stand alone, can we?
No.
There's, like you said, there's 100 other acts out there right now ready to, do the same thing.
Yep, exactly. It's really easy to get lost in the shuffle as one, but if you band together as many,
right,
you're not going to get as lost in the shuffle. You'll more likely to get seen that way.
Right, because what I'm trying to do is what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. And it was made this point the other day during an interview. I was talking to this guy he's from Idaho, and he's a hip hop act, and we were talking about how to prolong somebody's success. And I brought up, like, well, if you, especially like within the hip hop realm, if you look at like the different musicians that have had a long lasting career,
Mhm.
it's because they brought their friends up with them and they were able to ride the high a little bit more. So like you look at like Eminem, he brought all his friends up and they became really popular.
Yep.
And so he's just been still riding like, and then you look at like all these one hit wonders and it's like,
Yep.
you know, they took off for a little bit, but they weren't able to capitalize on it. Their friends weren't
Right.
able to capitalize on it. And so,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, No Limit, West Coast Records, man. You look at the guys that are still there.
yep,
Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. You look at these guys, and they all work together, man. They all stay together, and
absolutely.
uh, that's
And I,
yeah, you're exactly right.
and I think there's something to that where other types of music should be making that practice. Like, I mean, obviously in country music, it's a huge thing. Like, I used to be really religiously into The Voice and like Blake Shelton. And whenever he'd hear or talk to somebody and they'd be from his area or his hometown or near his hometown,
Mhm.
it would be like, oh, I like this guy, or this person, or this musician, or this actor, or whatever. I got to help bring them along. And it's like, that's really cool. Like, I think we need to start seeing more musicians adopt that mindset
Yeah.
of they're not competition. They're,
And I like seeing Blake Shelton do that because somebody did it to Blake Shelton,
yep, absolutely.
and that guy's dead now. But somebody did it for Blake Shelton. Somebody did it for Jamie Johnson. Somebody did that for these guys.
Yep.
And and it's good to see him, turn around. But how many? But sometimes I wonder about that. And I've had this question. We've had this conversation about these guys are out there. How do you get these people to get their attention, to get them to help somebody out? Like what makes that criteria? So he's on The Voice. So
Mm-hmm.
these people that are going out here getting picked by the same, it's just kind of it's a weird thing. It's just random stuff, and that's the whole thing, is putting yourself in the right opportunities in the right places in the right times.
Yep. And
And
it's
if you're sitting at home, you're not doing it. You're not putting yourself in any chance to get there.
absolutely, you got to take more chances to get known or be in that right place at the right time. You got to take more chances. You
That's
got to
right,
start
man. You
saying
gotta get out
yes.
there.
You got to start saying yes to more things. And I, this is going to be a little bit of a weird piece of advice, but sometimes if it feels like it may be too good to be true,
Mm-hmm.
if it's still enticing enough that you're still really interested in an opportunity, I would say probably still go for it. Because I was growing up very skeptical of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then like
Right.
within the last like 3 or 4 years, I've kind of really backtracked on that. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it does seem like it's too good to be true, I'll still follow up with it and try and take advantage of it some way. But it's all opportunities, and opening yourself up to say yes to more opportunities is,
Yeah.
it's, yeah. But yeah, this has kind of flown by. I wasn't expecting us to go on a bunch of random side tangents. This is
I'm sorry.
No,
I get
it's great. I love it. It kind of breaks away from the formula of what we usually do here, so it's always great. That's great. So I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know we kind of said about 45 minutes is where we like to be. So as far as the everything going on right now, how's that affected your shows moving forward? What do you have on the books that may still be able to be played? Stuff of that nature.
Well, let's see here. That's questionable. Depends on, I guess, how long it's gonna last.
Yeah.
I've got next in May. I've got coming up for sure.
Okay.
Anything for April. I'm just kind of basically gonna hold off on that because I kind of think that's too jumping the gun too soon yet.
Yeah.
Because like you said, 2 weeks ago they were saying 2 weeks, and now it's just Um, so, but in May, I've got a bike rally that I'm doing. On the first night of it, and then I've got, like, the following week, I've got a singer songwriter showcase that they're going to video and televise, or they're videoing it and putting it on. Man, I cannot remember what couple media sources it was, and then they're doing it, but it's also a live radio broadcast thing.
Oh wow.
And then the very next day, I'm over here in Kentucky at this huge city park, and we're playing a thing called Recovery Fest.
Okay.
And it's all about, because this area has been hit really hard with the opioid crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, dude, I mean, seriously, it's just terrible. It's like zombie land for real.
If it
And
was
so, like,
if it's anything, I lived in Bowling Green, Kentucky for about a year, and I
okay,
remember that being it wasn't a huge issue,
mhm.
but it was still an issue. And then I remember a lot of the people that have been at least from Kentucky, a lot of people were from like Louisville in that area. They would
Yeah.
say how bad it was out there. Like,
Well, it's like I'm right around Huntington, West Virginia, and if you look at like where the most they've had to, like, say, the most overdoses, it's like right here.
oh wow.
In this general area, like this little tri-state area, dude, there was 27 over. I mean, like, we're talking, this is like a small area. Like, it's not really urban. I mean, it's kind of city, but man, the population is really small.
Yeah.
Like, we had 27 overdoses in a day,
Oh wow.
and like, how do you deal with that? Because now you can't even have an ambulance, go pick somebody up from a heart attack or car wreck.
Yep.
It's tragic. I've lost 6 friends in a week
Oh
to this
wow.
shit. And and that's one thing I say. So we're playing Recovery Fest, and I love what these guys do. They're doing it for free. They go out there and they just try to get people well and clean and bring awareness to it, because people it seems like they give up on them. They give up on them. They write them off like, well, they're dead anyway. Man, that could be your mom, brother, sister, mom, dad.
Mm-hmm.
Your son or daughter. Unfortunately, it could be anybody. You just don't know.
Yep.
And they're a human being, and you don't ever give up on them. You don't know that person you didn't give up on might be the person that could cure cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it just, I wouldn't do it, man. I'm a human being, and I hope to God, and we try to bring awareness to it, because it was so bad here that they had to pass a rule. So we talked about 27 overdoses in a day. In the county I live in, if you've been called to that address has been called for an overdose before,
Mm-hmm.
they won't send people out. They won't send, no, they're not going to come out and Narcan somebody at the house now. May not even be the same person. It's a problem address. We're not sending resources to it. They'll basically, they're going to let your ass die.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, who are you to play? That breaks my heart. That's tragic to me. And I mean, God, man, I just take to think, man, some people just get in bad ways for whatever reason. And who are we to not try to help them? I mean, I know it's hard. I know it's tough. I know it hurts, but man, we're going to kill off a whole generation.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen to the kids in the next one, man? Like, what are we saying to them? What kind of example are we setting? And so we're going to play this Recovery Fest thing, and I'm a big supporter and big lover of that. Everything else is still up in the air. After that, the next thing I know I have on books, and this thing has to be over by August, okay?
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, the Dancing Outlaws?
No, I'm not familiar
Hank
with
Williams,
that.
30th thing of the guy. Anyway, Jessica White, I'm doing his birthday outside of Nashville. Big party out there.
Nice.
They had a show through MTV. It's pretty cool. There's a bunch of crazy people from Boone County, where I'm not far from either.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nuts, man.
Cool. Well, I mean, hopefully everything's kind of blown over here within the next month. Like it has to be. Like, we can't go into anything over 30 days. Anything over 30 days, and it's just like, okay, this place is gonna fall apart. There's too many people out of work right now that it's gonna do irreparable damage, like stuff that we can't come back from.
Well,
so
I hate that, but then again, when the news of this first broke,
yep.
What did the stock market do? You obviously seen all these people that owned all the stocks. They started dumping stock.
Yep.
And what that told me is they know something's coming that's pretty big.
Yep.
And because why else would they? Because they're destabilizing the whole thing, and they knew it. They knew what they were doing, but they obviously know something we don't know. And I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but they know something we don't know.
Yep.
And with that said, I just kind of looked at that and I was like, well, this is going to be some serious shit.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'm hoping.
I kind of pay attention to a lot of that stuff, and we were due for a crash anyways, but
Yeah, of course.
that's like a whole thing about how the economy is built
Hmm.
and how the cycle works. Um,
Always.
but it's one of those things where once it got down to like 20, or the Dow got down to 20,000, I started buying stocks. I was like, you know what? I need to take advantage of this. Stocks
Right.
aren't ever going to be this cheap again. I,
Exactly.
you know, luckily the company I have work for, they have a stock purchasing plan. So
Oh,
basic,
wonderful.
so basically, I tell them how much I want to take out per paycheck for the next 6 months, and then they just give me the stocks for that amount of money.
Oh,
Like,
that's awesome.
and so it's like, okay, cool. And right now we're at a record low.
Yeah.
I'm super happy right now. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I agree with you because it's got to come. Certain stocks are going to come back. Hopefully, they'll come back quick and strong.
yep,
I'm kind of just waiting to see how this all plays out because I mean, there's a lot of ways this can go right now. We can sit here and speculate on it. We really just don't know.
yep,
But
absolutely.
I'm just hoping it's going to be like it's just going to wipe clean, and then we're going to come back and everything's going to. I mean, I know it's going to be like a slow start, but it's got to be somewhere.
Yep.
And I was like, my wife said yesterday we had to get gas, and she's like, hey, gas prices is like 99 cents. It's like 99 cents a gallon in Kentucky. And I said,
Wow.
99 cents a gallon. And that scares me.
Yeah.
She said, what do you mean? She don't want low gas prices. It's like, look at our economies. Look at anything. If gas prices is $5 a gallon, you better know one thing. It's because people can afford to pay $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
That's why they're making record profits during that time. If
Yeah.
gas prices is 99 cents, they've released reserve, and that's because shit's bad.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of like, man, it's one of the things I'm just kind of waiting on, man.
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm enjoying the low gas prices, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
But
I can't really travel anywhere.
yeah. Um and so like right now it like because the big issue was last weekend I was supposed to go out to New Mexico to work with the rest of my team because that's where the rest of the live and amplified team is based out of, because we
Awesome.
started in New Mexico and I left because work related stuff. Um and so since I left, we've been kind of working remotely and then coming together a couple times a year. And so now that I'm back in Texas and they're in New Mexico, it's a lot easier for us to get together on a regular basis because the drive's not that bad. But right now, I can't even go to New Mexico because anybody that's traveling outside of the state automatically has to go into quarantine for 2 weeks from my
Wow.
job. And it's like, all right, well, sorry guys, I'm not coming out there until I get the okay from work because
Mhm.
I can't afford to take 2 weeks of sick pay to be in quarantine.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's just kind of bad, man. But hey, if you can stockpile the gas, man, it'll work out for you.
yeah, yeah. But it's all good. Gas around here is usually on the cheaper side of things. We're not at 99 cents a gallon, but we're at like $1.80 something. So I'm super happy with that. You know. Um, but other than that, man, I want to thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. Glad I got to do it.
Yeah, and where can everybody kind of find you on social media to stay up on the new upcoming album and any upcoming shows? Where can people follow you and stuff?
Facebook, Zachary Sovine Music,
Okay.
and you can get me on YouTube, and that's kind of where I stay at, man.
Okay.
But I keep everybody. I'm trying to keep the Facebook more up to date. Um, that's where I'll be at, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Like I said, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody tuning in, and we will see you all later.